wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and welcome to this stream of round 2 of the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship, where two East Asian nations are going to battle it out for the title of the better of the two East Asian nations. I don't know. But yes, this is round 2 of the World Cup of Carcassonne. To be short, Team Hong Kong is playing Team Taiwan. Both teams surprisingly lost their first round. Hong Kong lost against Brazil and Taiwan lost against Italy. So both teams will be extra motivated. Hi Helga. So actually, before we go through the players, why don't we just go through last week's results? Actually, we can't do, because the way the website is made, the results are there only for the current round. So we can look at the standings in Group C, where, well, Team Hong Kong is currently last, but that doesn't mean anything because only one round has been played. That was this 10-0 loss to Brazil, which of course quite heavy, and Taiwan lost 1-4 against Italy. As you see, Brazil here right at the top of this group. And if you ask me, probably the favorites for this group are Brazil, RCP, and I would say still Taiwan, despite their first round loss against Italy, because just look at these screen names. So we have here on table 5 the player with the screen name Sakura Kim, who is currently rated only like 470, but they're on a bit of a downswing. They had been crossing the 700 or master threshold at some point. Stephen Chang, a very strong player, also had high ratings in the master category as well. Philip Lin also must have crossed 700 at some point. They are now got down to just 500 something. The player with the screen name Juicy Ray, they weren't quite at 700, they were at 600 something. Now also a little bit lower, and pretty much now the entire Taiwan team is in the 500 range. Whereas for Hong Kong, probably the strongest player and the captain, Daniel Cheng, with the screen name LSC here, as you see, had actually represented Taiwan before. They had moved around quite a lot around the world, and they actually the reigning vice champion of United Kingdom, interestingly. So now they're still with their Hong Kong team, and this is the duel that we're going to follow, because this will be a roughly equal matchup, I think, between the player with the screen name Sakura King and Daniel Cheng with the screen name LSC. So wait, you were saying that I can see the results in each group. How does that work? No, you can only see the rankings, but you can't really see like the direct head-to-head results, no? Because you can see... Oh, thank you. Yeah, let's go. Okay, I'm a bit new navigating that website. Yeah, and here obviously you can see the results. You can see the... Wait, that was Group B, right? No, Group C. B is my group. Yeah, here's the 0-5 against Brazil. Here's 1-4 against Italy, and you can visit the website for yourself. But continuing more of the pre-match talk, I think that the Taiwanese team would be the slight favorite. However, the draw of the table is probably likely favors the slightly low-rated team that favors Hong Kong. So I think the result is going to be probably 3-2 either way. My guess would be that there's a 60% chance of Taiwan winning this encounter, but of course it's Carcassonne, so anything can happen. Hi Helge, hi Vladimir, hi Marian. Do let me know in the chat, who do you think is going to win this one? And speaking of predicting who is going to win, I have to remind you that I'm doing a giveaway. We're playing a championship-long game of Fantasy Carcassonne. Many of you have already signed up. For those of you who don't know, all you gotta do is click the link in the description, go to the video for terms and conditions, but basically it boils down to you picking your Fantasy 5 players across the championship from different teams who you think are going to perform best throughout the championship. And those of you who will have picked the best Fantasy 5, I will ship a board game of Citadels to you. For those of you who are not familiar, it's probably a board game that you will like. You can probably look it up on Board Game Geek on somewhere, but in addition to giving away a copy of Citadels, I'm giving away some extra competitive rules from Alexey, which are not in the instruction manual, so hopefully that will leave you with something unique. Nico saying in the chat that Taiwan's gonna win. Any bets on Hong Kong in the chat here? Well, anyway, we're about to start in 4 minutes. I think there was something else that was wanted to mention. Oh yeah, do check out my move of the week video that I posted yesterday. It has gotten quite some traction, and if you are watching other matches, please do send me suggestions for which game or games, or actually not games, but just which move to include in the move of the week segment. Hi Ivan, hi JMizu97. This week's matchups after Taiwan and Hong Kong, let's just actually have a look at the calendar. So I'm not sure when Latvia is playing, but when Latvia is playing, hopefully somebody will stream that. Obviously, we will not be able to stream all encounters, but Japan-Netherlands looks to be like an interesting one. Probably could end 3-2. What could be some other tight battles? Czech Republic, Germany for sure. Germany would probably be the stronger team on paper, but Czech Republic has two currently exceptionally high-rated players, Martin Mojžiš and Martin, I forgot his last name because they have 3 Martins on the team, but the one who has the screen, the Marty Party. Spain-Latvia, of course, is going to be the main match of the week. Well, at least for me. Poland-Ukraine could be an interesting one. Hong Kong, Taiwan, obviously we're watching now. Brazil, Italy, I really hope I'll make some time to stream that one. Can't guarantee that, of course, because we don't know when I'm playing. Yeah, do let me know after this match which match do you want to watch. Anyway, we've kind of already, Marianne's predicting that Hong Kong is going to win. At least we have, you know, something. Different opinions here. Speaking of the fantasy Carcassonne game, this is one where Team Taiwan has currently more of your support because none of you have picked Hong Kong players, whereas several Taiwanese players, Lisa Tsang, Sakura Kim, and Stephen Chang, were picked by some of you for their Fantasy 5s. Lisa Tsang, sorry, is not playing today because apparently they have enough masters on the team so they can just afford to let a master sit this one out. I kind of feel like we've gotten through the pre-match talk very quickly. Oh no, but there's one more thing. You can see that the screen names on the scoreboard are sort of color-coded a little bit. Do try and guess what's the system behind the color coding. I'll tell you midstream. That's supposed to give you some additional information about the players. I can tell you that. So we're going to start with LSC Sakura Kim, and after that I'd really want to have a look at 5 CTs versus Juicy Ray, not only because the ratings are sort of equal there and we expect a tight encounter, but also probably out of all Hong Kong players, CT is the one who gave the most resistance in their duel against his stronger Brazilian counterpart, at least on paper, the Brazilian master Vinilesa. If you remember, they set up for a nice comeback for a big city that didn't quite work out, but they indeed made their opponent sweat. And Hi Elias, hi Joao, hi Cadillo. We are going to just simply start refreshing every now and then because the players should be starting. Interesting, rating wise, both players have dropped quite a lot, but we know that Sakura Kim was at 700, so they are definitely not to be discounted in this duel, even though I would give the Hong Kong captain the advantage in the predictions here. You might see the unusual color meeples. I'm experimenting with something. So the Portuguese player Hugo Pereira from Team Portugal sent me a script that kind of alters the view of the meeples. Do let me know in the chat what you think about this. Is it now clear for you? Because the idea behind this is to make sure that the green meeples don't look as camouflagey anymore, because now they have this sort of black background. And anybody can access this script, and of course it's revertible, so if you want to make your meeples look like this, I'll happily explain it to you towards the end of our stream, and even share the one line of code that is necessary to do that. Alright, yeah. João Morgarido saying that the colors are for the ELO. Green is under 400, yellow is under 500, and red is 600 plus. Yes, that is correct indeed. So then kind of the jewel of Stephen Chang stands out there, and then you can see that most of the players are yellowish orange. Means that most of the jewels are going to be tight. Well, red here now finds a nice move, equalizing green's road. Yeah, both players are playing fairly fast. I haven't been commenting much of the action because most of the moves were natural, you know, kind of following the basic principle of Carcassonne. So look, red is building a city outwards here, which is safe. Red is trying to equalize and successfully equalized a potentially more lucrative city by green here. So that's following another principle of Carcassonne. Green here got the first monastery and the opening advantage, and to cash in double on that monastery, of course, green is building his city next to that monastery. So say if red were to attack it with a city cap or something, and then to connect like this through a triangle, well then red would be helping green to complete his monastery, which green of course would be more than happy with, but green, of course, wants to go even further. Green wants to finish the city and monastery, so I think green will now happily finish the city. This will make the monastery meeple vulnerable. This square in front of the monastery will become blockable with one move. I am so surprised at this move. This is exceptionally greedy, I think, and green is going to get punished for that immediately. So green decided that he will have time later to finish this 10-point city, but it ain't happening because red is going over here and preventing this from happening, interestingly. Now, red could also build up his own city with this triangle, and normally this would be the play in many situations, but not here, because actually this would make the city quite vulnerable, because look at this. 1, 2, 3. So 3 out of 5 triangle city tiles with the road are already out, which is why I do not like this move at all. I think we see, well, an exchange of mistakes. One small mistake and one, I think, a much bigger mistake here, because you're only giving yourself 2 tiles to complete successfully. Now, of course, red gets completely bailed out by the deck, because now red is giving himself a different tile to complete the city. Now red can complete the city with a triple city tile with a road, and there's of course 3 tiles like this remaining. This city, surprisingly, still has not been attacked, has not been completed. Very interesting situation going here. Hi, Hugo's in the chat. So he's the author of the little script to make the meeples look different. Yeah, so if you have technical questions, then just do ask him. So finally, red does the thing that red should have done a move before. Again, red gets bailed out by the deck here. It's not that often that you get the luxury of drawing a triangle before an opponent draws a city cap. The reason why this is unlikely is because there are 23 city caps in the game, whereas there are only 10 triangles in the game. And even out of those 10 triangles, 4 had been already used on the board. So now the position for green is looking not that great. I mean, green could still do things. Maybe green can finish the city, drop a farmer. Green can also get a city splitter here and do something interesting like that. And of course, complete this little city while separating from red. And after that, there's also a world how this square gets blocked. Because look at this. 1, 2, 3. So all 3 left-handed daggers have already been discarded. And only 1 right-handed dagger has been, not discarded, but used, I meant. Well, but even if green accomplishes all these objectives and get lucky with the splitter and everything, green still will be in a bit of trouble because this city, there's an 88% chance that red completes it, and 88 is a lot of percent. Moreover, red now starts a strong attack, a blocking attack on this meeple. There are now only 2 tiles remaining for green that are left to finish the city, and even if green gets one of these 2 tiles, which of course he's still the favorite to do, it will be a bit of a wait. But now something interesting happens. In Carcassonne, very often, if you block, you also get blocked. And the block from this side is actually stronger because the opponent here is threatening to build around like this and block the square completely, but this is not necessary because quite a fortunate draw here for green. He's the first to get his critical tile and drop a farmer for already 9 points. Of course, red also gets quite fortunate in drawing this tile early, and now the situation has somewhat equalized. Of course, there's this city, which will be worth at least 10 points, but probably 12 points, depends on what kind of triple city tile is drawn to complete it. Also, sorry about that, guys, I just noticed, yeah, you've been pointing out in the chat that this thing over here, one of these tiles is out, so it's not, of course, 88, it is 75. Let's just write, okay, I'm just gonna write, sorry, just like silly things like this. I'm going to write 75% over here and hope to not move the board around too much. Hi Melvin, hi El Pitufo, hi Elias, but hi Ivan. Red is starting something. No. Yeah, red is starting a 4-point road. Actually, let me just make this fatter a little bit, 4-point road. And there's also another critical spot over here. So red is now starting to attack the city with a second meeple, and now he's going to do it. He's going to totally do this and try to eat up this entire city. Unfortunately, I need to clear off everything because, like, actually, no. Well, basically, whenever I, like, clear off the drawings, it's usually one button that clears off everything on the screen. So, okay, I'll just keep redrawing the 75 here. I don't know if that's helpful at all. So now actually there's a debate whether red should be taking over the city, because here's what's going to happen. Let's say red places this tile over here, which probably they've kind of committed to the play. They should be, I guess, doing this. But the thing is, they already need a triple city tile over here. So this means that while it looks like their odds are gigantic, that actually are not that gigantic. They will have 3 regular triple city tile or 1 quadruple city tile. that left to fit here, which I guess is quite nice. But here's what's going to happen. So they do this, and then imagine they draw the regular triple city tile. Then immediately, because this square over here is so vulnerable, after they draw the triple city tile, green will be able to either re-attack the city and try to reconnect through one of the two remaining triangles with the road like this, or green will simply, depending on what green draws, green could also draw a curve or a monastery and just place it like this, and make sure that the city is blocked. And this is actually here a very nice defense. So it didn't work, but it was still a good attempt to defend. And you see what green did. That was actually a really strong sequence here by green, because green pre-blocked this square. There's now nothing that fits into this square, okay? Because normally there would be tiles that fit here, but they have already been used. But moreover, green just made sure that red needs the same tile in both places. And even, let's say, if red gets one of these tiles. Okay, red gets this one first. Of course, red completes the city, frees up his meeple. And then after that, red will probably use that tile over here. But then red would be gaining those city points. I think it's going to be roughly 11 or something. But red would be forced to give green a meeple back. So this position is not ideal for red, actually. And now players exchanging with some quick city cap points. And there have been enough city caps for players to start dropping farmers. As you see, 9-point field brewing at the top. And red, because he has his meeples tangled up, maybe quite wisely decided not to go for a big field fight, but instead go for a counter field. So now green has his 9-point field over here, which probably going to turn into a 12-point field later because of this completed city. And red has his 9-point field over here, which is not turning into a 12-point field anytime soon, but hey, it's close enough because we need not forget that red is simply ahead on the scoreboard, and red will get 4 more points by inevitably completing this road. It's going to happen sooner or later. There are still 5 curves remaining, let alone all the other curvy tiles and crossroads. So I would be very surprised if this meeple doesn't come back to red quite soon. Here's a monastery, which I would use as a monastery. The game is still young, and green doesn't really need a lot of meeples because he pretty much has all his objectives accomplished. So he has 1 city meeple. He wants to build city caps here. He has a field, so in case he doesn't have enough meeples, he can spend moves on protecting his field, maybe kind of building around here like this, and that's why green decides to go for the monastery instead, which I quite like. Also, you know that Team Japan is strong, right? After their victory over Slovakia, they've reclaimed the temporary and ever-changing title of the highest-rated team of the championship, by which I mean the highest average ELO. And just look at how Japanese players play. They almost never miss a chance to meeple monastery if they have at least 2 meeples. So now, of course, this greed comes at the expense of expanding the field and giving your opponent more attacking points. And here comes the first move, which looks good, but actually I think is not as efficient as it could be. This monastery placement I don't like. I think this monastery placement over here is much better because green would be getting more adjacency bonuses. So it looks lucrative, like you're getting 6 points, and then you'll have 1 shared square. But then after that, you're going to have 6 more tiles to build up to get his meeples back. And it does seem to me that in order to win the game, green will need to finish one of the monasteries. And maybe Green's logic, Green didn't want to place a monastery here because he'd be letting in red into the field. And I can definitely see that. But on the other hand, it looks like a matter of time before red gets into the field, or is it? So there's certainly a world where red does something like this and green simply blocks himself. Not with this tile though. I think 50% is too good of a chance to leave your opponent. I think you gotta be patient there. Actually, maybe you could just also equalize the farm, drop your last meeple, although I kind of don't really like that move. There's still 4 curves remaining, so maybe if green gets a crossroad or something, green can place a crossroads like... No, it doesn't quite work, does it? But basically, there's a world where... Okay, maybe green places a crossroads here first, then a curve here like this, last meeple goes here, and then crossroads goes here, this meeple comes back into green's hand, and then both of this hypothetical field meeple and this field meeple, they go into the field, and then green has a 2-2-1 advantage. I'm just trying to fantasize here. Hopefully some of you can follow. We get news that Stephen Chang predictably wins his first encounter. So let's try and so far so good. Nice. Interesting. Yeah, all good, all good. I just was looking at a little bit of delay, and look at what something interesting happened. So I guess maybe I criticized green's move a little bit too early because green maybe knew something about how red is playing, and red in fact got impatient and finished green's monastery. And I definitely understand green doing so, and I really like this move that green did not hesitate to block that spot, did not hesitate to save, and just was kind of waiting for something good to happen. So in fact, green did capitalize on a couple of extra points from this monastery just because this field connection was through green's monastery. However, this can be double-edged. Well, basically, yesterday I was playing a casual game against an Argentinian player, and I lost that game because my opponent was connecting through the field. Was trying to connect into the field through my monastery, and I wouldn't do that for him, and so I ended up kind of stranded with that monastery meeple until the very, very last moment. And then at the last moment, my opponent did connect through the monastery, but then trapped my monastery meeple elsewhere, like by blocking some other squares. So I think maybe potentially here red could have been more patient, but hey, you can't blame red for wanting to share a 15-point field. 15 is a lot of points. Well, let's have a look at what green will do. Certainly an interesting choice here. So a natural move would be to continue your monastery like this. On the other hand, you're not even guaranteed to finish this monastery, and so you'd be just getting 1 point. There are still 2 curvy tiles, no, 2 curves specifically that I see. So it would probably be definitely an impactful move when, as far as win probability is concerned. On the other hand, of course, it must have been unpleasant for green to be forced to sacrifice such a juicy tile for this purpose, but it has paid off. Of course, they are going to finish their monastery now. They're not going to get this bottom meeple back in all likelihood, but they can live with that. Look at the power of the monasteries, and they even got completed. So if you're in the middle of the game, and if you're not sure whether to meeple the monastery or not, like 70% of the time, the answer is yes. Interesting row tile here for yellow. He's probably going to think about it for 1 minute and ending up just taking 2 quick points over here, or over here at the top. Of course, if you're in a gambling mood, I mean, and you can do that. Maybe you can like meeple this six-point road and hope for a road end. And normally this would be a play to consider, but the thing is that red needs a road end tile that is together with a city over here and over here. So these are in fact the critical tiles, and look at that. Red decides to play a spatial move and decides to protect their shared shared field. Why? Field and squeeze are not similar words. Why did I misspeak like this? First colors, then words. What's next? Shapes? I don't know. And Red's idea here, he's saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to let you utilize your meeple majority. And you have 3 points over here. I have 9 points for this field, which looks impenetrable. So I am, as red, I'm sort of ahead in this indirect mini battle. And it just makes up for 8 points on the scoreboard. And it seems to me that really all what the game is going to come down to is this square and this square. So who is going to draw these tiles? I'll just put that on the screen for those of you who are just tuning in. And also for those of you who are just tuning in, I have to remind you to meeple the like button for the algorithm. And just to make me feel good as well, that certainly would help. Green is now rightfully so spending his time, which of course I do like, trying to figure out his win condition. Like, are 2 points enough? Or do I need to go for something crazier, like trying to connect through the outside of a curve into this field like this? There's also a connection like this into the field from here, but it's blockable from this side, so that could be a little bit unpleasant. Well, now we find out that the gamble for Sakura Kim with a long road would have paid off, but of course that wasn't a reason to play that move. We don't want to be result-oriented when we assess our Carcassonne successes and failures, just a reminder here. Also interesting that, you see, this field connection through a triangle city would look interesting, but it does seem to me that all 5 triangle city with the road tiles have been already used up, so that opportunity is no longer available. You know, by the way, I really love field connections through city tiles. There's something like very aesthetical about them. And also, they're typically unblockable, so that you know your exact probability of success. And I invite you to check out my first video in the Carcassonne Endgame Theory series that I published, must have been about 6 weeks ago. Just go to the playlist and check it out, and then you'll see what I mean. Of course, I'm giving you a hint for the actual puzzle, but the actual puzzle wasn't easy, so that's not such a bad idea. Well, back to the game. Green didn't find anything more productive than adding 1 point to his city at the bottom, but we know that even 1 extra point can win games. Do let me know in the chat what you think about this meeple background color. Yeah, because basically I'm debating whether to keep it for the next stream like this, or to just revert back to normal views. So the thing is, now it's definitely more clear as to where the meeples are. But the differences in meeples are less clear because they sort of have this salient black background. And Taiwan gets its first point of the match because we just got word that Stephen Chang has won his game. And Hong Kong is about to make up for it because this was such an impactful tile. So green draws one of the 2 critical tiles. And not only does he do that, he does that in style by adding 1 extra point to his city and also preparing to finish a long road. And how about we try count up all the triangles now? I see that there are none remaining, but that would have been cool if there were triangle remaining. Green could have taken this city and hoped for a triangle. But wait a minute, aren't there city caps? There might be city caps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not any of the regular ones. Basically, I'm thinking, can green try and take this city? Honestly, that could be worthwhile. Well, only one of the 2 critical tiles is out. No? Am I missing anything? One of those is still remaining. Yeah. So he does this thing, even though there are no triangles remaining, he just decides that it's a lot of city points. So the other critical tile does go to green, to red, which does seem fair. You know, you get 1, I get 1, and we split it evenly. So am I correct in assuming that Taiwan has bested Hong Kong in this duel as well? 7 points on the scoreboard is nice, but extra 3 and 9 field points is nicer. Of course, there's the monastery for green, and the city, and the city, and the road. But will it be able to make up 17 points? We'll see in a second. I don't want to do counting, because if I do counting, I will eliminate the suspense. And you know, I think red should have it just because of this extra 5-point road. It's really a lot of points, and it does seem that the critical tile, as I said, decided the game. Well, 75% is 75%. Even though I was a bit critical of red's gamble over here, I still am, to be honest, but it did pay off, and you can't argue with results. Well, you can't argue with results only if red wins, but red didn't win. So apparently, all these cities ended up adding up, and we're gonna congratulate Hong Kong on getting on the scoreboard. In the meantime, the player with the screen name Helic is up 1-0. Yeah, I guess there's a thing with the results board, of course. Now, you may notice that the results have started appearing a little bit quicker. That's because I have my teammates helping, so thank you so much for doing that. But also, this means that I actually need to, like, click on the scoreboard for the results to update. I wonder why that is. All right, now we need to make a quick decision. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Are we following the second match of LSC, or are we going to another pair? And if we're going to another pair, it's going to be Juicy Ray and CT. I'm just going to look at them anyway, just to see where they're at, because they must be ending. Actually, no. Why did I open? I prepared. Like, I had multiple tabs open. I don't need to type everything again. Okay, so Juicy Ray also has just won. No, that was their old game. That was an arena game. So he started an arena game not being afraid that he's going to be late for the match. I definitely can empathize with that sort of commitment to Carcassonne. He won that arena game, but it won't matter for the World Championship. How's he doing over here? Okay, so we are watching like the last 5 tiles, but after 5 tiles, do let me know in the chat what you want to watch. Yeah, Kirill is saying about the scoreboard. I'm pretty sure the issue is on my end, so don't worry about that. The winning probability is not calculated on Board Game Arena. The winning probabilities is calculated in the commentator's mind. Well, green is here ahead on the scoreboard, but red has a lot of monasteries. Monastery here, monastery here, monastery here, and it all adds up to 20-something points. So, however this game ends, it's going to be quite close. Look at the city over here, roughly equal to this. There's a city that looks unfinishable for red, and there's a city which looks maybe finishable for green. I don't know, I haven't counted the city caps. Well, while the players are thinking we can do that, starting tiles. 1, 2, 3. I see 3. So there's indeed 1 tile remaining to give the Taiwanese player 8 points and a meeple back. But the Hong Kong team member draws it, which he must be very happy about. Oh, I forgot to remove the critical tile. Sorry about that, guys. There will be a different critical tile in this game, I'm sure. Well, actually, there was. And this tension has already been resolved. I do like that both players are taking their time. Now the question is this city finishable or not? And another question is, will that even matter? No, that is not. And look at this. Somebody should play the lottery today. Somebody should, after this match, just straight run to a casino. Well, I was about to say that they are in the right country to do that, but I'm confusing Hong Kong and Macau. They do have kind of similar flags, if you ask me. The reason I'm saying this is because red drew the second city finisher for green, but will that be enough to win for red? We will find out once I impatiently hit this refresh button. Well, it's a tie, but we remember that a tie is a loss for the starting player. Who was the starting player? Have there been tiles discarded? Okay. We need to, can we replay? Can we go through the logs? Actually, I'm just gonna go here and here. Oh, obviously you can't see that because I'm covering the logs by my face. I'm just going to scroll down. Well, CT is saying GG, what that means. So the first log says CT places a curvy tile, which means that they were first, which means that they lose, which means that Juicy Ray can claim the points. Oh, oh, the win probability you meant in terms of ELO, never mind. Have you changed the meeples to no longer be confused by the colors? Well, not quite. Actually, I've changed the meeples for you to see them better and to decamouflage the green meeples. But do let me know which way you prefer, because it's quite easy to revert back. Anyway, whom are we following next? All right. Actually, since you're not answering, I'm just going to do Juicy Ray here. simply because this game was close and I like watching games from the start, so we're going to just keep hitting that refresh button. It would be handy to have a start player marker in Carcassonne indeed, but it does seem that Board Game Arena wasn't really designed for competitive Carcassonne the way the logs work, especially the number of remaining tiles. It has been confusing for some of my viewers as well, because I have some viewers who play Carcassonne but are not on Board Game Arena, and then when it says 0 tiles remaining, it's actually not 0 tiles remaining, it's your opponent has one more move, and sometimes I actually forget whether they do have one more move. And also, of course, the discarded tiles are not particularly clearly shown. Alrighty. So 5 CTs in the play with the red meeple screen name were not enough to defeat the Taiwanese master. Maybe they should add a 6th CT to their screen name, and then that will do the job. Interestingly, that they apparently have their screen name named after a medical procedure, because everybody in the Carcassonne world seems to be liking hospitals now. I mean, players, special guests, you name it. There was a substitution in Brazil, if you remember. I assume for medical reasons. I just hope that all of y'all are doing okay as far as possible. Well, red has 8 points on the scoreboard, but in this position I prefer green. You know why? Monastery. Those are really good. Especially if another monastery comes, then it's almost game over. I'm being a bit over dramatic, but people very often underestimate the power of monasteries. In order to mitigate against green's advantage, red had a nice find. Red is trying to destroy this green's road over here, because there's only 2 tiles that fit in the square, and it will be quite awkward for green to get a meeple back. On the other hand, that's what some intermediate players don't know. You don't have to get your meeples back in order to win, because this road can just become very long. Straight line, straight line, straight line, curve, 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 straight line, straight line, straight line, and they're already like 12 points over here. And you don't really need to get your meeple back. But if you get a meeple back, that's a bonus, because look at this protection over here. Not only did green score 2 points, green also made sure that this square is still alive. Speaking of the starting player, Elias is correctly pointing out in the chat that the rule about the starting player is true only in competitive Carcassonne. It's not a rule in the original game, which of course is understandable, because the importance of the starting player advantage was discovered only much later. Not only does the starting player get an extra tile to work with, right? You have 36 moves in the game, whereas your opponent has 35, unless of course a tile is discarded at some point. But also, and many players don't think about this, you have the better probabilities in the final coin flips. So supposedly you need a specific tile on your supposedly on your penultimate move, you're making a gamble, and you need a specific tile in order to win. For the starting player, you do this when there are 2 tiles remaining, so your chance is 1 and 2 or 50%. For the second player, you do this when there are 3 tiles remaining, so for you the chances are 1 and 3 or 33%. That's like a 17% point difference, and this is really huge. And these end of game gambles are super standard situations, so that's why, of course, giving the victory to the player who did not start the game is more than fair, if you ask me. And that's why it is common practice not only at the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship, but in many national championships. They've adopted that in the UK. They've adopted that at the Mind Sports Olympiad, and I think it's only a matter of time before the international community lobby the organizers of the World Championships, and they're finally going to adopt this in Essen at some point. But back to the game, and the reason why I haven't really talked much about the game, because players are taking their sweet time, which I absolutely like. And the only thing that happened is this very interesting move by Red, and I'm not sure what you think about this. I'm certainly quite curious. So the idea is Red placed a meeple over here, I assume to kill off a monastery spot, which is certainly creative. But what could happen here is Green getting a curve plus curve, blocking the square, having 8 points in a mini battle, and then maybe somehow blocking that square as well, or just closing it off with a city cap, and then leaving 3 points for Red. So that would be 8 for Green versus 3 for Red in the long term. Of course, also what could happen, Red could just get a city cap, then another city cap, and then just get 8 points. But then, of course, Red would be having the disadvantage of being forced to add 1 extra point to Green's monastery. But I think the main idea here is that while this situation is resolved, Green will not be able to use any additional monasteries they may have. And look, I guess I see the idea, the intention behind Red's move. So Red wants to sacrifice 1 meeple in order to tie up 2 meeples of Green. Because let's say if Red manages to block this square and this square, then Red will have more meeples to work with, because Green will have 2 of these meeples tied up. However, I think it's something that Green should absolutely be happy with if they understand the game, because they already have a lot of points with these meeples. They're going to have 8 monastery points, and they have 7 road points. That's 15 points versus 3 city points. That's 12 points for a net 1 meeple investment. It's actually really good investments of a meeple. That's equivalent to dropping a farmer in a field with 4 cities. In the meantime, speaking of blocked meeples, the square has been successfully blocked off by Green, which is definitely a mini, not a victory, but how do you say, like a small victory for them. The point is, even though there's only 1 point difference, this piece has 3 points and this piece has 4 points. The piece with the Green's meeple on it can grow up to many points. And there's still some big tiles remaining for it to happen. On the other hand, Green might need big tiles over here to complete the city. So I certainly see a triangle going here. And then maybe a triple city, and then 2 triangles like this. So this is certainly something that is now occurring when Taiwanese spectators are daydreaming. That's what... How many? 30 million people in Taiwan? I think it's 30. Unless I'm underestimating, in which case, sorry about this. That's what all 30 million Taiwanese people are hoping for. 2 triangles, 3 triangles, and a triple city. But that's not going to happen anymore. Now it's a change of plans for Green, because Red has very wisely initiated a blocking attack, and now there's only 1 tile that's left here. So the tile that Green needs to draw ASAP in order to keep the threat of completing the city alive is maybe something like... Actually, you may be thinking that the ideal tile for them is to draw this straight away, but actually no. The ideal tile for them is a triangle with a road, because that would give them the shot, that would give them the defense, and would make sure that further squares up top are not easily blockable. So let's wait and see how this situation is resolved. Now, we see that this idea here has paid off, sort of, kind of, but look at the courageous gamble here by Juicy Ray. He says, you know what? Who needs meeples? Meeples are for cowards. I'm gonna play this game with 2 blocked monasteries versus 1 blocked city, but I'm gonna have so many points for these monasteries, it's gonna be worth it. And if anything, I kind of like this move.
Because there could be also a third monastery there eventually. And then what could happen? Let's say if red blocks the square, which at this point they probably should, because you don't want to give your opponent's meeples back. Like, in order for it to be a balanced game, you have to choose meeples or monasteries. If your opponent's not careful enough, you get both meeples and monasteries, and then you just win the game outright. So after, let's say, red thinks for a minute now and plays this move, which they should, possibly with a farmer. Actually, I kind of like the field here as well, just for the tempo. Even though it has only 2 cities, it could grow. Red has 5 meeples. There are only 3 monasteries remaining. Like, what are you going to spend your meeples on? So I definitely like a farmer here. I can understand not playing the farmer as well and saving it for later. But there is, yeah. And, great minds think like maybe the player with the red meeples watched the stream again, stumbling upon words. I haven't confused colors today, just words and concept. I guarantee you shape is next. I'm going to say, like, not a triangle city but a circular city or something like this for no reason. I haven't done that yet, but I'm headed that way. Alrighty, so red is growing his field. He's building stuff on his field. I quite like that. He's very close to justifying this meeple. However, the tile that green really wants to draw, meeple the monastery. Come on, content. Do it for the content. We're watching a stream here, but also not only for the stream, just because it's the best move. Actually, green doesn't really need a lot of meeples in this situation, and monastery is a great opportunity to sort of justify future moves. Chickened out. Don't be afraid. Like, I mean, you can not meeple a monastery, that's fine, but don't do it because you're afraid. Just don't be afraid, general, when playing Carcassonne. Fear is not good for you. That's what I have to say. And also, think of your viewers, man. When there's more monasteries, it's more content. What are we gonna do now? Just watch players playing well, fighting for the fields, making good moves? That's not as fun as monasteries. But by the way, this monastery would have been already 5 points. I now really, really like that meeple. Because the thing is, here's the point when you're at a meeple disadvantage. Sometimes it's actually productive to meeple a monastery and put you at a further meeple disadvantage, just so that you get more productive moves easily. Because the thing that you're struggling at a meeple disadvantage, you're struggling to find productive moves. With this monastery meeples, you now have 4 easy moves that do something for you. Whereas now, if you get some sort of awkward road tile, well, maybe the play for you will be to just dump it, which of course for you is not ideal as the player, as the green meeple here. So it's a bit of a paradox here, but sometimes it makes sense to spend a further meeple when you're at a meeple disadvantage in order to mitigate a meeple disadvantage. And now that you know that, like, you're probably going to win against me, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm sharing secrets here. I hope that you can meeple the like button for that. That's something I'll appreciate that. And of course, if you're here for the first time, then do subscribe. We will be doing those streams quite a lot. Oh, I love your metaphor, Juliano. An empty monastery is like a birthday without a cake. I see some of you are commenting about the potential expansion of this city at the bottom. To be honest, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure that was where's the city capital. Maybe, but it's not completely closed down because triangle goes here, and it sort of grows. It looks like it's closing down, but in reality, there just aren't many tiles that you're taking away from your opponent. And in order to close it down completely, you definitely need to smash in a piece of road over here. Speaking of closing down, well, this city is now completely blocked. I mean, it will give points to green eventually. But now green is sort of struggling for meeples, which is why I really like that monastery move, because, Where else are you going to find such a productive meeple investment? Well, anyway, we're past that. Vika saying there are 23 million people in Taiwan. Well, with 30 million, I wasn't far off. And if anything, I wanted to say 26, but then I just decided to round this to 30. Well, I know where the missing people are. They're all emigrating to Hong Kong to play for the Hong Kong team. For those of you who don't know, that's exactly what the Hong Kong captain did. Daniel Cheng, LSC, the player whose first duel we just watched, used to represent Taiwan several years ago. Green makes a surprising move for me, trying to sort of block off his own road. If you ask me, I mean, Green wants to get this meeple back, really. Yeah, just Green needs meeples. Also, this would have been a 6-point monastery. 6-point monastery versus 1-point city. You tell me what's better. I'm loving this move here by Red, putting the opponent at a further meeple disadvantage and taking 2 points in the process. So now Green is 2 tiles away from getting a meeple back and finishing his city, and it will be quite an awkward process because a lot of tiles that fit into the square are already used. 1, 2, both dividers are out, and 1, 2, 3 city caps are out, so there are only 2 city caps that fit here, and then after that this square will be attackable. There is also a world how this city gets connected together with this ruin through a triple city tile, so Red will have sufficient time to try and hurt this city, which makes me think that Hong Kong is making a comeback into this duel. In the meantime, I gotta click on the scoreboard to refresh some more results for you. As you will see, the match is getting tighter and tighter because the player with screen name Skyzerg has tied the game against his Taiwanese nemesis. Or was that the other way? I don't remember who was ahead. But it doesn't matter. Now it's 1-1. And we're starting that duel as a completely clean sheet. Nice move here by Green. Not only does it make harder for Red to complete the city soon, it's also threatening to block the Red city completely by adding another triangle over here. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's still 6 triangles remaining, so it's something that Red will have to deal with. Red will not be able to defend from this threat. Red decides to block his own city, which I rather like, but also with this move, Red is expanding his own field, which is why I wasn't a huge fan of Green's idea in the first place. Oh, by the way, I'm just gonna keep reminding you that 7 points already on that monastery, and super easy to complete. So you tell me if deciding not to meeple a monastery is a good idea or not. What should Red do? It's an interesting question. Should Red start a new city somewhere here? Should Red pick a 5-point road and expand his field by bringing this extra city into the field? It will already make it 12 points. On the other hand, this will also expand the field quite a lot and open some field connections, which may mean that Red might have to drop a second farmer just to protect this field. This might be worth it given his lead on the scoreboard, but we need not forget that the game is actually closer than one might think, because 15 monastery points and 7 road points, so that's 22 for green. A block 22, but that's something. So red decides to go for the attempt to just finish this city, assuming that there are some tiles remaining, which is why green decided not to take the 2 points, but use the crossroads for a chance to create a blocking platform against this red meeple. And red is now thinking, do I defend? Do I do something like this? And the answer is no, because there's only one starting tile remaining. Yep, I'm not a fan of this move. I'll explain in a second. It's only 50% in a game that you're ahead. And also, there are other places on the board to productively use that tile anyway. So there's 4 points over here, and there's 4 points over here. So it does look like... but now, of course, once you have committed to the play as red, you have to follow through, put it over here, and, well, have a actually 50% chance to score 11 points and get a meeple back. It's not such a bad idea. I say 11 and not 8 because 8 points for the city, and we need to remember that this city is in red's field. That's the advantage, one of the many advantages of controlling a field by yourself. But red does something inexplicable to me, so they're going to protect their city in okay, well, it's just a mistake. Never mind. Everybody is worried, everybody's nervous, everybody makes mistake. Well, it wouldn't have mattered because green got the tile anyway. Red, in the meantime, is quite happy to just do stuff over here. Try and build some cities. Not in his field, but cities are cities are cities. They still give points. Elias is saying that red didn't count the city caps in with a T, referring to these 3 tiles. Whoops. Here, here, here. That all have been used. And this made this defense of this square not as effective. So now green takes 3 points. And red will now take 6 points for this city. This game seems to be going red's way no matter what. And if anything, I really shouldn't be too critical of red's play over here, because red did get some concessions from green. Green was forced to spend this valuable tile not on continuing his city, not on continuing his ruin, but on blocking. So you could say that with this sequence, red actually gained 4 points. Red gained 2 points from green not scoring 2 points for the road, and 2 further points from green not using the triangle city tile for his city. I think very often players forget about these kind of indirect gains, and even commentators forget about that too, so sorry about that. Yeah. So this was actually turned out to be quite a profitable investment, and we need to remember that Carcassonne is a zero-sum game. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seedy, what do? You could try connect to this city, which looks neat. Or if you believe that you're going to get blocked, you could just simply try connecting these 2 ruins together, making sure that green does not complete this city. But either way, the move that you play has to be centered around here. So he goes for the latter option. And this actually matters a lot, because look at this. Because of this triangle move earlier, green had to block red, so green was not able to put himself into a better position to finish that city. And as a result of red trying to finish a city and green chasing him around, green is now having another meeple trapped, and green now decides to drop even his last meeple just to have a shot at attacking his field. But the problem for green is is not getting any meeples back. And I think if I were green, I'm not hating the move. It's pretty interesting, and it's maybe correct. But I strongly dislike green's timing over here. Green's has 2:30 on the clock, and so he's going to play this move. And after that, his move will be pretty obvious. So he'll be trying to protect his field over here. Make sure that red is not able to re-attack. He'll be trying to protect his field from over here. And he'll be trying to block his city meeple, assuming that there are still tiles remaining to actually join. So that's why, for time management purposes, I think when you drop your last meeple, you need to count the points really, really precisely to understand how you need to follow up this move. And you also need to count the tiles so that you can already anticipate how you're going to block your opponent, and you already anticipate. For example, let's say if you get a triangle, you'll be facing a decision. Do I play some sort of blocking move, or do I like add just 2 points for myself over here? And it's something that can eat you up a lot of time later. So for time management purposes, it's much better to think a long time before you commit your last meeple for the rest of the game than after. LSC Daniel Chang has just won his duel against the, I'm still gonna say Taiwanese master, because you have, regardless how far you drop, you still have the title once you cross that 700 threshold, against the player with the screen name Sakura Kim. Yeah, so we can see that already. Now back to this game. I have no regrets about picking this game to watch. It's going to be a pretty clutch finish, I think. So here, again, think for full 2 minutes, because you just have to realize what the win condition is, how badly do you need to get into the field, and can even red finish a city. So here are some candidate moves. One is completing the field connection, but if there's a curve remaining, let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is a curve remaining. So actually maybe a better move is to first wait if you are getting the curve, and then to connect to the field only if you do actually get the curve, because you don't want to be completing the connection. This is why I'm loving this move, actually. That was a really strong move, because the idea here was to hope for the curve, but first of all to pre-protect this connection square. And now at least with this move over here, by not connecting to the field prematurely, green did some damage control. Unfortunately, this damage control may not be sufficient, but we'll see in just a second how this works out. I assume that a 6-point road will be taken here by 5 CTs. So the gamble of green didn't pay off, but let's see what would have happened had they drawn this tile. So they would have had, so now they have -1, 2, 3, 4, -12, but they would have had only -3. So they would have had 9 points more, okay? So this tile made a difference for 9 points Let's see if 9 points were actually important for the outcome of the game. I'm not even going to refresh this time. I'll try to be more patient. When I play, I usually hit the refresh button myself, unless it's like a very demanding and brain-consuming match, in which case I just sit down and wait the points to be counted. Look at that. Here, actually, these 9 points did totally matter. So, of course, green getting a bit unlucky here of losing the coin flip. On the other hand, green did win and did lose another coin flip because red was not able to draw the city cap to finish this city. So go figure whom you're calling lucky here or unlucky. But it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. For us, we love this result because this means that the match is going to be last longer and we're going to see more interesting Carcassonne. It's 1-1 in 5 CTs versus Ray from Taiwan. And also, Ray here, I guess, just got demoted from his rank of expert. Let's see if that's a psychological hit for them. Hopefully not. You shouldn't care about your elo too much. Alrighty, well, we should watch some Decider, right? We haven't seen Helic, although we've seen Helic yesterday. We haven't seen the player with screen name Hydro Baby. They are now around 500. They were 600 rated before. But let's just go and see what's going on in Philip Lin's game. Do I have a tab pre-opened? And now you'll be witnessing me changing my mind spontaneously once again. Now 6 minutes. They will be jumping in too much. Okay, I have to do this. And we're just going right here. 15 minutes ago, so the end game. It will be also helpful, come on, if somebody has strong opinions on which jewels to follow, then please let me do. Because, like, I've already fulfilled my plan for today, okay? Then the rest is bonus. We did look at a game by Daniel Cheng. We did look at a game from Juicy Ray versus CD. So that's kind of all I cared about. The two captains, by the way, taking care of business. So there's a nice symmetry here. And in the 3 other duels, the score is 1-1. Come on, it's like the match couldn't get closer than this. So I'm quite happy with this pick to stream. Elias is saying, I need therapy to let go of my elo equals my worth. Yeah, I mean, now I'm doing championship content, but I was really planning to make a video about that. So just hold on for a couple of months until after the championship, until I have time to do high production content again. Then I hope that my video can be a bit of a therapy. Well, actually, I'll share my main tip answer. I think you should care more about whether you play well rather than whether you lose or win. This is especially true for imperfect information games. Because there will be games where you play well and lose, and there will be games where you play badly and win. Vika is asking, pivoting to mental health content. Maybe. Let's see how that video does. Maybe I should, like, get training to be a licensed therapist. So, Skyzerg, you have a triangle city tile. But how does it make you feel? It has to make you feel good, because it's a very good tile, and it gives you 2 points. Why would you ever feel bad about it? And if you feel bad about the shielded triangle tiles, then that would be certainly an indication to see a therapist. Oh, Daniel's here in the chat. I think that Daniel KDC is Daniel Cheng. I'm not sure about that. Can you please confirm? But in that case, well, if you win the UK championship, you can actually go represent UK. So if anybody has a shot for representing 3 countries, that would be the Hong Kong Taiwanese British player. I haven't been saying much about this game because it's pretty complicated. Well, all I can say is that Red has the meeple advantage, which is working nicely for them. On the other hand, well, Green has this block Truin, which is a pretty neat investment. It's like 8 points. There's the quadruple city tile missing from here, of course. So somebody must have tried a force CCCC for the content, but that happened before we were streaming, so... And the quadruple city tile is already here, so that's not happening. And the only consolation that okay, first missed color off today. I'm pretty proud about that. I've lasted over an hour. Because of this triangle tile, there's +1 for black into this mini battle, and black is just going all in on some fields. And this is not even a connection to the main field, it's just a 6-point field. So what black can do is expand this field by getting 1 more city in, and black can also try to finish some cities here, and maybe even to connect like this. It's not impossible. I haven't counted up all the tiles just by looking at the naked eyes. By the way, if you're ever tired and if you're but you want to do tile counting, you could do approximate tile counting, as I said in my previous videos. You see like everything looks very, very green, and that's because many regular city caps are out. Actually, all 5 of them. So it looks like a neat field connection that could work, but there is no tile exit to fit this square. So now black will need to think where to use this straight line, and he uses it to block off a city connection, which of course I rather like. It does seem that it will not be sufficient for the Hong Kong player to win the game, and Taiwan will be up 2-1 after this. So you need to decide which game we are working next. Oh, there's a road monastery. There was a road monastery, right? Again, I didn't quite, but that wouldn't have been a field connection. That would have been just like 3 points with this extra city. Was there a road monastery? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That wasn't a full connection though. That was just 3 points. Well, black maybe was in time travel. He has only 2 minutes, which is only the maximum amount of time that you're allowed. Close to the maximum. Yeah, you guys are giving me a scare here. I thought black had a winning sequence, but no, they didn't. They did miss out on 3 points. Let's see how that worked out for them. I think not too great. But it was a really difficult position to play. It did feel that maybe the strategy there was they kind of had to wait until the last tile. Yeah, look, it was actually pretty close, 7 points. It would have been only 4 points had they not made that blunder. But I think the strategy here for black was to not drop this farmer, but keep waiting, and then look at what kind of tiles are there, and then strike at the very last moment, maybe either through the outside curve over here or through the monastery. When you have 1 meeple and you're behind by a lot, sometimes the best strategy is just patience. Because typically there will be some sort of field connection opportunity at the end. You just need to wait for the tiles to come out and to see what actually remains and how you can join. Hi, Rambo Pang from Malaysia. So obviously we are getting a lot of viewers from East Asia because there's evening in East Asia and it's broad daylight here in Europe. Well, congratulations on Taiwan on making it very close to winning the game. We are now going to look at home. First of all, I'm just going to click the scoreboard again just to see if I missed anything. Not in particular. We still have 2 decisive duels. So in order to win the match, Taiwan needs to win only one of the 2 remaining games, which are... Well, we haven't seen Helic today, so let's just go there first. They are massively outrated on this table, but will it matter? Yes, it will, because they're down 8 points and 3 meeples. On the other hand, their meeples are decently invested, while this 4-point city's prospects are not that great. Neither are these 5-point cities. This city, however, is it finishable? And the answer is no, because 1, 2, 3. So all the tiles that fit in this square are non-existent. Alrighty. Black here, flogging a dead horse, decided to double block the monastery that's already blocked. So then, as blue, how do you win this game? Do you perhaps bank on completing this city and getting the meeple back? Oh, the one thing that this move did do is, of course, it did block this road. So now I understand Black's move. Now it sort of makes sense to me. And there are indeed 0 tiles that fit here. So it was nice find by Black. I was surprised that didn't meeple the city cap, because the thing is, like, when you are down on points, when you're up on meeples, then you have to be really protective of empty features on board just so that your opponent doesn't get easy moves. Black now very confidently blocks the city, maybe. Yeah, it is a block indeed. There are no tiles remaining that fit here, surprisingly, even though there are 7 tiles that fit here. Normally, all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are actually out. So it looks like we're heading towards the anticlimax of the match, because this situation does not look really good for blue. They're trying to dry up the game, but it does seem that Black will be able to pick up just some random points towards the end. Well, look at this. They're just getting a new farmer. What do you do here as blue? Maybe you could just clean off a city cap and wait for a better tile, and then try to clean off this city cap. Cleaning off this city cap will not be possible because there are no tiles remaining that fit here. Or you could just say YOLO and go here and try to finish this 10-point city. The problem with that is that it's really, really blockable. So essentially what you're going to do, if you're making a move like this and meepling this city, then you're hoping that your opponent draws one of the 2 remaining monasteries, because then they can just place it over here, but that wouldn't be a block. Then you draw, let's say, the 1 remaining regular city cap, 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's 1 remaining, and then you somehow finish this city like this and get 10 points. And even then it's only 7 points, because look at this farmer over here, which, by the way, we missed some content. This farmer is clearly a result of a misclick. Well, Black was trying to get 2 points, but lost a meeple, maybe because their hands were trembling so much because they're worried because of this match. By the way, the idea would have worked. The exact scenario that it happened worked. So Black drew a monastery and Blue drew the 1 remaining city cap. Of course, it's quite fortunate for Blue that Blue was able to clean off these 2 city caps, but they did give him only 2 points because he took 8 points for the cities but gave Black 6 points for the fields. And now Black is going to finish in style with this clerical district over here, the power of the monasteries, and having extra meeples to meeple those monasteries. That's just huge. And you can't even meeple this monastery over here if you're blue, because that's not even the best feature on board. I don't know, what do? Do you kind of just drop here for a 6-point field, make it a 9-point field, something like this? You have to get points for somewhere, but is this the point where you just accept the defeat? On the other hand, I didn't really count up all the points that blue had. This road is good, the monastery is good, the ruins do add up, and maybe before these 3 monasteries the situation was not all that bad, but just look at that, just look at that. Yeah, he does go for the thing. This move in all likelihood will make them 9 points. But 9 points are probably going to be not enough. And look at this, and just Black has no problem dropping his last meeple over here. And it's going to be the most valuable features on board. And on top of that, to add insult to injury, this square may be still live. Well, as Helic, you probably have to come up with something. Maybe you place it over here if there are straight lines remaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, there are no straight lines remaining. So there is not much value in placing this over here because this wouldn't really be a block. You just have to hope that there are no road tiles remaining. I haven't counted that for sure. And you just have to try get as many points as you possibly can. Yeah, this certainly makes sense. Now we're likely to see another point. We could see a block, even though it's not really necessary. We might see some sort of attempt at a field connection, which, by the way, is it just not going to work? That would be also quite hurtful, I think, for blue to not even be able to get the extra 3 points for the farm. But they should try, they should try. It looks like the move that they're about to play now will not have much impact on the game, but they should still think of some way how to make this thing productive. So let's say had they kept a meeple, now they would have been able to score 4 points. It would not have been enough. Hydro drawing a tile that blue would have loved to add 2 points to themselves, and it is another crossroads, so this thing wasn't even a block. It does look like victory for Taiwan, but after that we're going to still watch the decider, because it does make a difference whether this match will be a 4-1 victory for Taiwan or a 3-2 victory for Taiwan, because those tiebreakers add towards the end. Closer than you might think. 8 points. So there was indeed a world how yeah, maybe blue, I don't know, like blue could have either gone for this gamble, or maybe blue had a like very weird win path, how they just keep a meeple until the end and then they hope for both crossroads. Or maybe they just hope that black doesn't get all the monasteries, but black didn't get all the monasteries. Black got all but one of the monasteries. It does seem that this move is the game-winning move for black, because blue was about to continue his road and get a meeple back, but this block here was so hard to deal with that black ended up converting the meeple advantage. So we're going to congratulate the Taiwanese player and Team Taiwan on the win. Oh, and we're now going to head to raise match. Also, interesting screen name. Juicy is sure an unusual epithet to give yourself. Well, the player from Hong Kong is up 3 points and 5 CTs on the scoreboard, which he must be happy about, but he must not be happy about the Green's Monastery for 7 points, the Green's City for 7 points, and the Green's Road for like a gazillion points. On the other hand, Red is threatening all kinds of things. Red has many places where he can get meeples back. But one thing that Red doesn't have is a good place to use this tile for. There isn't really a good monastery spot, and probably the best play is... I'm not even sure, because I was going to say 2 points, but this 2 points is super dangerous, because it helps this green meeple into the field. So, what looks like an innocent 2-point move is actually an invitation for this guy into the field. And what that means that as Red, you will have to equalize this field. You will have to... It will be quite a hard fight, really. Again, no really good monastery spot. You could place it over here, but you're helping green into the field even more. Even though the scoreboard here does favor Hong Kong, positionally, Red is close to toast. Rambo Pang is adding, how do you enable the black shadow under the meeple? All credit goes to the Portuguese player Hugo Pereira, who shared the script with me. Actually, if you're still here, because Hugo was here in the chat, you can just like copy the script or whatever. Or maybe like after the stream, you can stick around. I'll just show you how it works. I will try to just explain whatever Hugo explained to me the other day. But also, most importantly, do let me know what you prefer for the next stream. Is it actually clear for you to see the meeples like this, or do you prefer to go back to the normal way? So green now helps to bring his meeple into the field. There's still curves, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's still 5 curves, so over an 80% chance for green to get into this field. And I was surprised that green didn't meeple this monastery. On the other hand, you do really not want to get stuck without meeples for too long. This triangle was a huge tile for Red, because Red was about to get his city blocked, and now Red is not about to get his city blocked. Now Red is about to get his other city blocked. That's something for Red to think about. That's why I was saying that Red is close to toast positionally, because he just so many things he has to defend. It's still doable. It's still doable, but he cannot do that without help of the deck, and the deck does help him. He must be squealing from happiness, getting this city meeple back, and now preparing to utilize his meeple majority to fight for the field on the left. Which is why, if you were the RCP player with a screen named Mikhail Rus, what you do here, you drop your last meeple on this field as green, which honestly might be not the worst move. Like, how do you lose this game as green? You lose this game by losing the big field. But what if we just drop a farmer here and overfarm and win? I honestly think that was a viable strategy. Yeah, 15 tiles until the end, but like whatever. This field has, let's do this together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cities after the merger. 27 points. Do you need the meeples if you have 27 points on the scoreboard? Maybe not. Because the thing is, like, this square is now dead, which means that Red will not be able to complete this connection. And it means 2 things. First of all, green will preserve all the juicy 10 points from this road meeple, even juicier than his screen name. And this also means that this potential attacking spot for the field, right, because you could drop a farmer here, is also eliminated. The bad thing for green is that green did not manage to block the red's piece of road. So red's actually cut his losses and just ended up scoring 3 points for the road instead. And look what happened. Now red didn't shy away from bringing green into his field just for the sake of 5 points. And now as red, you need to start thinking about fieldless win conditions. Is there a world where you just win without having to fight for the farm? There might. Because red just keeps scoring quick points. Not particularly interested in the farm right now. Well, there were also not many good tiles. So maybe I think you just finish the city, drop a farmer here, like that with a triangle. Drop a farmer because there's still some curves remaining, some straight lines remaining. And doing something, farmer, always farmer there. This plus this. Okay, this has to be a mistake, guys. So it looks like it's far away from the field, but it actually isn't. And the point is not the field connection, it's the thread, guys. Because then, like, green would need to spend tiles on blocking this connection. In the meantime, you can try connecting from here. And meeples are not Pokemon. You can't catch them all. You can't trap them all. You can't block them all. Because you only have so many moves. I think many intermediate level players really ignore the opportunities of field connections through multiple tiles at their peril. Beginner players do that. Like, beginner players always drop a farmer. And also I've noticed that there's a nice kind of circle of life in Carcassonne, circle of elo. When you're rated, like, the play of an 800 elo player is very similar to the player of 100 elo player. In so many ways, you start making weird farmers, you start meepling 1-point roads. It's just, you know, it's like when you're retired, you start behaving like a kid in some ways, and that works for Carcassonne as well. But the player with red meeples is not 700, he's 500, and so he's just playing cautiously. Doesn't care about the viewers, doesn't care about the content, just cares about trying to win the game in his own way. Well, starting a 6-point field is not a bad way to try, right? There's still one mob. No. Oh yeah, this connection is no longer live, I think. So that was a very efficient block. But you see, had there already been a farmer over here, red could have used the time that green took to block this square to try and connect through here. So red could have now just like snapped this move, and red could have been one row tile away from connecting. But I guess what red's going to do instead, now they're going to think, oh, actually field meeple is not such a bad idea, and they're going to drop a farmer here in a worse position because this is now blockable. Of course, green doesn't get a blocking tile, but green gets a meeple back. So that's something. Let's see if they actually do get the connection. They don't get the connection. What do they get? Well, they get 7 points probably on the right. Not a bad move to play, I think. And they might just win without the field anyway. Ray here just drops another farmer, and it's going to be a connection and a reconnection, right? I assume that Ray had calculated this. There are curves remaining. Noted your remark about the shirt. I have been having thoughts about this. Oh, nice suggestion here, Elias. So I think what red should do is not connect to the field, because if I'm not mistaken, there are curves remaining, so this field connection will be useless. But they should do something like this and drop a farmer. Yeah, that would work out nicely. That would be 6 points without investment of a meeple, so Not a bad idea at all. Oh, actually, there's another opportunity. You can just score 7 points over here. Why score 6 when you can score 7? I don't think you can. Whoa, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. You go here, you drop a farmer. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. And then you like drop another one. No, actually, you don't need to drop a farmer. Who am I kidding, right? Because you do this, and then you drop a farmer on your last move. Oh, that's such a puzzle position, because it's a classical standoff thing. But this, I'm a bit foreshadowing my next puzzle video, which I'm posting in about 10 days, fingers crossed. It's been really a lot of content that is now still in the editing room. But basically, here's the idea. I think there are some curves in our remaining tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's one curve. I don't know what the other tile is. But the idea is like, if you just take 7 points here, then green can't meeple this field. Well, instead, red just blatantly went for the 50-50. And red is going to end up equalizing this field. Just, again, blatantly. But maybe they figured that's what they needed to win. I'm not sure about that. The field was pretty big. But maybe that wasn't enough. Maybe actually what they had to do is just something like this. On the other hand, if you take 7 points over here, I mean, these are 7 points. Maybe it would have been enough other way. But of course, this coin flip is huge. Not only does green not get to reclaim this farm, green also gets the subpar move of 5 points instead of potentially meepling a field of 9 points. Okay, so now I'm not going to refresh. Red should have it, but we don't know that yet, okay? Waiting. Still waiting. Okay, now we can clearly see that it seems that it was all about that field. Yeah, and it does seem that there was no other way for red to do this than through a 50-50. Well, nice play there by red. They decided to go YOLO, and YOLO they did. For extra 15 points and probably an important tiebreak later, because I need to remind you that it matters not only which team won, but also how they won. It is a quite likely scenario that many teams will have. Let's just go over here to the standings. Not results. How does it call? Classification. Very interesting translation of the word standings. You see, there are 8 teams in each group, and 3 will advance further, and it's very likely there's going to be some sort of tie for 3rd and 4th. And then if you win your games more convincingly, or lose your matches not as badly, that all gives you valuable tiebreakers in the end. So Taiwan will now bump up from the 5th place to somewhere 4th, and they will just be waiting for other results of the game. And for Hong Kong, it will be an uphill battle of lost matches. But this match, at least it was as close as it could have possibly been. Hopefully close enough for you to have enjoyed it. So maybe green is now thinking about how he could have protected that field, not let his opponent have a 50-50. But hey, when you're playing against somebody who has the meeple advantage And when you're trying to defend a big farm, it's usually very hard to do that. Which match will you stream next? Rambo Pang is asking. I wish I could tell you. So the thing is, the schedule is only released a couple of days in advance before the match. Well, let's actually look if something else has been released. So calendar. I really want to stream a Sunday match, but I'm not sure if I might have to play on Sunday. I really hope we don't have to play on Sunday, actually, just because I can... Whereas there's a particular match on Sunday I want to stream. I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to ruin it for you, because in case I can't do that, I don't want to go back on my promise. I'm not going to tell you just yet. Nothing? No special announcements. I hope that there's going to be a match on Thursday evening or Friday evening. I just need to ask somebody. But yeah, just stay tuned. I will be posting my streaming schedule, which will consist of one stream, on the YouTube community tab, and as well on the, how do you call this thing? My Board Game Arena profile, for those of you who are on Board Game Arena, which is most of you. But also, one thing I can tell is that this weekend, there's going to be a viewer games analysis stream, and I already have 3 very interesting games for you to look at that has been waiting for several weeks. And the way this works is, if I'm streaming a match on Sunday, the game analysis stream is going to be on Saturday, and vice versa. If I'm streaming a match on Saturday, the game analysis stream is going to be on Sunday. So there is going to be a stream on both Sunday and Saturday, no matter what. I just don't know the time and don't know the concept, the content, but just stay tuned. Is just this. I need to remind you, of course, of a few other things. One thing is, unless I haven't told this enough, Fantasy Carcassonne. I'm giving away a board game which is called Citadels, which 90% of you are going to enjoy, with extra competitive rules from Alexey, which are not in the rule book, which are also quite likely to enjoy as well. And in order to do that, you have to click the link, or to clink shortly, in the video's description, and go for the other video which outlines the terms and conditions. But it boils down to you picking your Fantasy 5 players from across all the different teams at the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship, who you think are going to perform best. You got to do so until April 2023, until late night April 23, in whichever time zone you're in. I'll try to be quite flexible in that regard. And then after we have all the submissions locked, we will be following the developments of Fantasy Carcassonne as well. Some of you have picked Taiwanese players, so those of you who bet on Stephen Chang and Sakura Kim are certainly enjoying yourselves right now. So I congratulate you, in addition to congratulate Team Taiwan. Hey, Daniel Cheng here is in the chat, who won his duel and kind of took care of his captain duties and earned some valuable tiebreakers and hopefully team morale. What else? There was something else. Of course, meepling the like button. That is important for the algorithm. Subscribing, unless you have to, if you want to view this concept more than once. It's also important, because then if you subscribe, it makes me feel good, but also YouTube will think that the video is good, and YouTube will try to offer it to somebody else who's probably maybe not that interested in competitive Carcassonne, but might become interested in competitive Carcassonne. So we certainly hope to expand the competitive Carcassonne community as well. Yes, KK Spam, there will be weekly review on whose fantasy team performed best. But before that happens, I just want to wait until April 23rd, simply so that, we have all the picks locked. Because I need to remind you that if you want, you can actually change your Fantasy 5 until April 23rd if you think that your team is doing poorly, which I don't think is the case for any of your picks. most of your picks have won their first matches anyway, or at worst have just not participated in the first match, with a couple of very limited exceptions. But if you do change your pick, then you need to do that not by editing your comment, but by posting another comment on your under your comment. Otherwise, I won't see it. And this is important so that the timestamp changes as well, because I need to remind you, in the unlikely event that two of y'all pick the same Fantasy 5, the tiebreaker is the timestamp. So whoever is the earliest, well, that person gets the prize. Oh yeah, and of course, do check yesterday's video about the move of the week. I felt it was pretty interesting. And do send me suggestions for which move, which one particular play from all the matches that are going to be played this week you think deserves to be in the spotlight for next week's move of the week video. I think I've talked enough. The score has been updated, so thank you for my teammates for that. I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate all of y'all. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.